Babae ako at hindi basta babae lang. Paulit-ulit kong sasabihin ni pagsisigawan sa buong mundo na ako, ikaw, sila, tayo, kami ay babae at hindi basta babae lang.
Good day everyone. We are the group 2 and we are going to discuss about the violence against women and children. But before we continue our discussion, here's our learning objectives. First, to discuss violence against women and children. Second, to promote awareness on the forms of violence against women and children. Third, to provide information on laws protecting women and children. Fourth, to feature violence against women and children related services that people can access and avail. And last, to promote the strengthening of the prevention and response system on violence against women and children. Violence against women and children is a serious public health concern with costs at multiple levels of society. Although violence is a threat to everyone, women and children are particularly susceptible to victimization because they often have fewer rights or lack of appropriate means of protection. In some societies, certain types of violence are deemed socially or legally acceptable, thereby contributing further to the risk of women and children. What is violence against women and children? According to Republic Act 9262, violence against women and their children refers to any act or a series of acts committed by any person against a woman who is his wife, former wife, or against a woman with whom that person has or had a sexual or dating relationship, or with whom he had a common child, or against her child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, with or without family abode, which resulting in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering, or economic abuse, including threats of such acts, battery, assault, coercion, harassment, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty.
And this is the percentage of violence against women and children. As the entire world celebrates Women's Month this March, the Commission on Population and Development, or POPCOM, renews its call for special protection of Filipino women, especially in the time of a raging pandemic. Recently, POPCOM disclosed the results of a recent social registration survey, which revealed that 1 out of 4, or 25% of Filipino adults across the Philippines cited harmful acts in various problems of women during the present health crisis. Based on the survey, 11% mentioned physical violence, top main concern for Filipinas, while 14% for sexual violence and emotional violence, 7% each, or a total of 25% as top concerns Filipinas are facing while the COVID-19 contagion persists. The graph shows the percentage level of violence against women and children. In Mindanao, with 24% of adults sharing the same sentiments, 11% for physical violence, 5% for sexual, and 8% for emotional, while it was slightly lower in the Visayas at 22%. 6% for physical violence, 11% for sexual, and 5% for emotional. The trend was, however, higher in Manila at 29%, 13% for physical violence, 7% for sexual, and 9% for emotional, and rest of the Luzon at 28%, 13% for physical violence, 7% for sexual, and 8% for emotional.
Is there any law concerning violence against women and children? Yes, and that is the Republic Act 9262, or also known as the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. It is a law that seeks to address the prevalence of violence against women and their children by their intimate partners like their husband or ex-husband, live-in partner or former live-in partner, boyfriend or girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, dating partner or former dating partner. What are the acts of violence which are covered under Republic Act 9262? The Republic Act 9262 covers several acts of violence, which are, first, the physical violence. It is an act attempting to cause or resulting in pain and or physical injury. As with all forms of violence, the main aim of the perpetrator is not only or may not always be to cause physical pain, but also limit the other's self-determination. Physical violence in the private sphere also affects young people. Often children and young people who are present during an act of spousal abuse will also be injured, sometimes by accident, and sometimes because they try to intervene. Physical violence also appears in the intimate relationships of young people. The fact that they might not live together often adds to the difficulties in talking about it. And here are some examples of physical violence: beating, burning, kicking, punching, biting, killing, or the use of objects or weapons.
The second one is sexual violence. What is sexual violence? The acts which are sexual in nature committed against a woman or her child. It includes but not limited to rape, sexual harassment, act of lasciviousness. Lasciviousness is an act that is sexually offensive and an act of lewdness committed upon a person of either sex, short of lying next with a woman and anything leading up to it. And let me continue to the example of sexual violence. Treating a woman or her child as a sex object, making demeaning and sexual suggestive remarks, physically attacking the sexual parts of the victim's body, forcing him or her watch to obscene publication in indecent shows for forcing the woman or her child to the indecent acts, and or make films that are forcing the wife and mistress or lover to live in the conjugal home or sleep together in the same room with the abuser, causing or attempting to make the woman or her child to perform sexual acts that do not constitute rape, the use of force, threats, intimidation directed against the woman or her child or her immediate family, prostituting the woman or her child. And these are the examples of sexual violence.
Third one is psychological violence, acts or omission causing or likely to cause mental or emotional suffering of the victim, which includes but is not limited to the following: controlling or restricting the woman's or her child's movement or conduct, threatening to or actually depriving the woman or her child of custody or access to his family, depriving or threatening to deprive the woman or her child of a legal right.
And last is economic abuse. Economic abuse refers to acts that make or attempt to make a woman financially dependent. which includes but is not limited to the following. First, withdrawal of financial support or preventing the victim from engaging in any legitimate profession, occupation, business, or activity except in cases wherein the other spouse or partner objects invalid, serious and moral grounds as defined in Article 73 of the Family Code. Second, deprivation or threat deprivation of financial resources and the right to the use and enjoyment of the conjugal, community, or property owned in common. Third, destroying household property. And lastly, controlling the victim's own money or properties, or solely controlling the conjugal money or properties. Who are the persons protected by Republic Act 9262? The law recognizes the unequal relations between a man and a woman in an abusive relationship where the woman is usually at a disadvantage. The following are the persons who are protected by Republic Act 9262. First, wife. Second, former wife. Third, a woman with whom the offender has or had sexual relation with. Fourth, a woman with whom the offender has a common child with. And lastly, the legitimate or illegitimate child of the woman within or without the family.
Battered woman syndrome as used under Republic Act 9262. Battered woman syndrome refers to a scientifically defined pattern of psychological and behavioral symptoms found in battered women as a result of a long history of abuse. Republic Act 9262 acknowledges that women who have retaliated against their partner or who commit violence as a form of self-defense may have suffered from battered woman syndrome or BWS. Any victim who suffers from BWS should be diagnosed by a psychiatric expert or a clinical psychologist. This will also help the victim in obtaining a just decision in her case. The law does not allow the offender to have custody of minor children. Their care is entrusted to the woman even if she is found to have BWS.
What can women and children do under Republic Act 9262? Under the law, the offended party may file a criminal action or protection order either as an independent action or as an incident in civil, criminal action, or other remedies. Who may file a complaint under Republic Act 9262? Any person having a personal knowledge of the circumstances involving the commission of the crime may file a complaint because violence against women and children considered a public crime.
Where should cases for VAUSI be filed? Cases may be filed in the regional trial court designated as family court of the place where the crime was committed. These courts have original and exclusive jurisdiction over these cases.
What is a protection order? A protection order is an order issued under this Act for the purpose of preventing further acts of violence against woman or her child and granting other relief as may be needed. The relief granted under a protection order serves the purpose of safeguarding the victim from further harm, minimizing any disruption in the victim's daily life, and facilitating the opportunity and ability of the victim to independently regain control of her life. The provisions of the protection order shall be enforced by law enforcement agencies.
The various kinds of protection orders are Barangay Protection Order, Temporary Protection Orders, and Permanent Protection Order. Barangay Protection Orders refers to the protection order issued by the punong barangay ordering the perpetrator to desist from committing acts under Section 5 and Republic Act 9262. Barangay Protection Order shall be effective for 15 days.
Second is the temporary protection orders. It is refers to the protection order issued by the court on the date of the filing of the application after ex parte determination that such order should be issued. The court may grant in a temporary protection order any, some, or all of the reliefs mentioned in the Republic Act 9262 and shall be effective for 30 days. The court shall order the immediate personal service of the temporary protection order on the respondent by the court sheriff, who may obtain the assistance of the law enforcement agents for the service.
The last various kind of protection order is the Permanent Protection Order or PPO. It refers to the protection order issued by the court after notice and hearing. The court shall not deny the issuance of protection order on the basis of the lapse of time between the act of violence and filing of the application. PPO shall be effective until revoked by the court upon application of the person in whose favor it was issued.
Who may file a petition for protection orders? A petition for protection order may be filed by the following: the offend party, the parents or guardians of the offend party, the dissidents or collateral relatives within the fourth civil degree of consanguinity or affinity.
Offenders proven in court to be guilty of the crime shall be penalized with imprisonment ranging from 1 month and 1 day to 20 years payment of 100,000 to 300,000 and damages mandatory, psychological, counseling, or psychiatric treatment. A psychological insight into the causes of violence. The most common motivations for violence can be viewed as inappropriate attempts to handle emotion. Often violence is the medium used by an individual to openly express their feelings such as anger, frustration, or sadness. Other times, violence can be considered as a form of manipulation for individuals to try and get what they want or need. Aggressive behavior can also be used as a form of retaliation, a means by which one uses to even the score. Finally, violent behavior is sometimes caused because people grow up seeing violence openly displayed. Violence they becomes learned as an appropriate way to behave.
Interagency Council on Violence Against Women and Children, or the IACVAWC, was established by virtue of Republic Act 9262 to ensure the effective implementation of the law and be the lead coordinator and monitoring body on violence against women and children initiatives. The Council is composed of 12 member agencies: the CSC, CHR, DepEd, DOH, DILG, DOJ, DOLE, DSWD, PCW, CWC, PNP, and NBI. These agencies are tasked to formulate programs and projects to eliminate violence against women and children based on their mandates, as well as develop capacity-building programs for their employees to become more gender-sensitive to the needs of their clients.
Functions of the Council. First, promotion of Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-VAUSI Act. Second, capacity building of stakeholders. Third, development of comprehensive programs for VAUSI victim survivors. Fourth, networking with other stakeholders. Fifth, monitoring of the implementation of Republic Act 9262. And lastly, research to include the integrated approach to eliminate VAUSI.
Coordinate and monitor, under the direction of the Council, the implementation of the policies and guidelines promulgated by the Council. Assist in establishing, maintaining, and managing a centralized database on violence against women and children. Wherever feasible, provide technical, secretariat, and records. Keeping in other services to the Council. Perform such other functions as may be directed by the Council.
Additionally, the IAC-VAUSI Strategic Action Plan for 2014 to 2016 identify goals, objectives, and strategies under the 3 key result areas, namely, primarily prevention to systematically address social and cultural norms that perpetuate VAUSI, response system to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the various services of IAC-VAUSI member agency, cross-cutting structure and actions to improve the 4 months of IAC WOWSI as the lead coordinating and monitoring body on WOWSI initiatives.
Propose a solution as the future social workers. As the future social workers, we should speak out against all forms of violence, especially to the women and children. Educate ourselves and let us advocate and raise awareness about violence against women and children to give support for their safety and protection. Provide parenting education, child and family counseling or seminar, family support, and advocate for more youth violence prevention programs, offer education classes, family and children advice or information sessions, advocate for further abuse community programs. People should learn the facts and prevalence about violence against women and children by raising our voice and take actions for women and children's rights and their equality so that we can spread awareness and that they might feel empowered as an individual. So it ends here our discussion. Thank you for listening. God bless and stay safe, everyone.